In 1998, Monica Lewinsky couldn't leave her apartment without cameras following her. Every late night, host mocked her. Every newspaper printed her name. She was offered fortune after fortune to tell her story. One interview alone paid her $1 million. Her book deal was worth $500,000. But something strange happened. The money disappeared almost as fast as it came. Today, her bank account holds a number that doesn't match her fame. And the reason why changes everything you thought you knew. On July 23, 1973, Monica Lewinsky came into the world in San Francisco. Her father, Bernard Lewinsky, was a wealthy cancer doctor. His family had escaped the Nazis in the 1920s, first fleeing to El Salvador, then to the U.S. when Bernard was just 14. On her mother's side, things were just as unusual. Monica's grandfather was a Lithuanian Jew. Her grandmother was born in China in the British-controlled city of Tianjin to Russian Jewish parents. These roots were filled with survival and reinvention, and Monica would carry that energy forward. Her mother, Marcia Lewis, wasn't just a homemaker. She chased fame too, writing a book in 1996 about the three tenors. It was clear from the beginning this was a family tied to celebrity, ambition, and scandal. She grew up in Beverly Hills inside a Spanish-style mansion worth $1.6 million in the 1980s. Her dad's clinic brought in $37,000 a month. That's over $400,000 a year. They spent big $20,000 a year on vacations, drove Cadillacs and Mercedes, and went to the symphony. Monica's own expenses were outrageous for a team. $720 a month for tennis lessons, $300 for a babysitter, $100 just for her hair. She went to elite schools, first Sinai Aqaba, then John Thomas Dye and Bear. Her classmates were children of Hollywood producers. Kids got luxury cars for their 16th birthdays. It was a dream world. But behind the gates, things were breaking. Everything collapsed when Monica was 14. Her parents' marriage blew apart in 1987. The divorce was vicious. Marcia accused her husband of cheating and even buying gifts for his mistress from Tiffany and Louis Vuitton. There were violent outbursts. Monica heard her father yell things like, "You're a moron." He banned the kids from speaking at dinner. The therapy bills alone were $1,800 a month. Monica had her own sessions costing $700 to $60. Years later, caught on tape, she admitted, "I was brought up with lies. I have lied my entire life." It wasn't just a broken home. It was emotional chaos, and it planted a dangerous seed. Monica learned early how power, pain, and dishonesty can become twisted together. At school, Monica tried to escape into theater. She joined a tight-knit drama group and found comfort there. But when their drama teacher died by suicide, it hit her hard. She transferred out of Beverly Hills High and went to Bear Prep, an expensive school known for taking in troubled, rich kids. It cost $12,000 a year and only had 7 seniors. Monica was one of them. She dove into choir, art, and drama, eventually becoming valedictorian. Her yearbook hinted at her ambitions. She quoted Ezra Pound and Dr. Seuss. Her classmates thought she'd be famous one day. They were right, but no one predicted what came next. When Monica was 19, she began a 5-year affair with her former high school drama teacher. His name was Andy Bleer. He was 40, married with kids. Monica followed him all the way to Portland, Oregon, when she started college at Lewis and Clark. Incredibly, Bleer moved his whole family there too. Monica even babysat for them while still sleeping with him. She was friends with his wife. The situation was twisted. Bleer's lawyer later said Monica was obsessed with sex and had a habit of exaggerating things to boost her own image. Before leaving for Washington, D.C., she told the Bleers, "I'm going to the White House to get my presidential knee pads." She would call Bleer up to 5 times a day. Even while getting involved with President Clinton, she kept reporting everything back to Andy, venting that Clinton only wanted oral sex. The pattern was clear. Monica sought power, danger, and validation from older men who were already taken. At Lewis and Clark, Monica studied psychology. It made sense. She was fascinated with people, emotions, and control. She even dreamed of working for the FBI. Ironically, she later said, I did work with the FBI as a federal target. She had a loud, friendly personality. Professors said she was the kind of person who'd start talking to you out of nowhere. But friends noticed something darker. She couldn't keep secrets. She gossiped. She openly talked about the affair with Bleer. The stress drove her to therapy. She was trying to understand herself even as she kept spiraling. She graduated in 1995 at age 22 with a degree in psychology. Despite everything, she made the dean's list. In her final year, she juggled 3 jobs. She sold ties at a downtown kiosk. She did a practicum at a mental health center, though she didn't do well there. And she interned at a legal aid group where she compiled data to help people avoid jail time. Her heart seemed to be in the right place. She wanted to help others. She just didn't know how to help herself. Then came the twist of fate. 1 month after graduating, Monica landed an unpaid internship at the White House. She got the job through a powerful friend of her mother's, a Democratic donor. The internship was in the office of Leon Panetta, Clinton's chief of staff. She had no political experience, no special qualifications, just a degree and the right connections. In November 1995, most White House staff were sent home when the federal government shut down for a week, but unpaid interns like Monica Lewinsky were asked to stay. She had just started working there a little over a month before, but now she was one of the few people left in the West Wing. That's when the president began showing up more often. With most staff gone, Bill Clinton walked into the chief of staff's office regularly. And that's where he started to notice her. She was just 22. He was 49. Over the next few days, she caught his eye again and again. One moment stood out. At a small birthday party, Lewinsky noticed her underwear straps were visible above her pants. She saw him looking, and she chose not to adjust them. Later, Clinton called her into an office. Her heart, she said, was pounding. People noticed. One advisor even joked she was getting more face time with the president than most senior staff. Others were disturbed. The attention wasn't subtle, and soon staff began quietly looking for ways to move her out of the building. But it was too late. On November 15, 1995, just days after that birthday party, Lewinsky entered the White House around 1:30 in the afternoon. She left briefly, came back at 5:07 p.m., and didn't leave until 12:18 a.m. The president was there, too. His schedule lined up almost exactly. That night, their relationship began. He was old enough to be her father, the most powerful man in the world. She was a junior intern. And what happened between them that night would change both of their lives and American politics forever. Over the next 18 months, there would be 9 documented sexual encounters. Most happened in or near the Oval Office, even in George Stephanopoulos' office. One time he unbuttoned her dress from her neck to her ankles. Another time he recited her phone numbers from memory. They shared more than physical encounters. There were gifts, lots of them. She gave him designer ties, books, a Sherlock Holmes game, and even frog-themed items. He gave her cigars, poetry books, and stuffed animals from Martha's Vineyard. One gift was especially personal. A framed photo of himself wearing a tie she had given him. He called her late at night, left messages on her answering machine, said he missed her, said he wished she was home when he called. There were at least 3 of these calls recorded. On one of them, Lewinsky was with her friend Linda Tripp, who later realized it had been the president on the other end of the line. Lewinsky became emotionally attached. She believed she was special, chosen. Then came the blue dress. On February 28, 1997, during one of their final encounters, Clinton ejaculated on her navy blue dress during oral sex. She didn't notice. She wore the dress to dinner that same night. Months later, she thought about wearing it again to Thanksgiving. That's when she discovered the stain. Linda Tripp urged her not to get it cleaned. She called it an insurance policy, and she told her the dress made her look really fat just to keep her from wearing it again. That dress became the most important piece of evidence in the case. When Lewinsky finally handed it over in July 1998, the FBI confirmed the DNA matched the president. Denial was no longer possible, but even before that, staff had already tried to separate them. In April 1996, Deputy Chief of Staff Evelyn Lieberman transferred Lewinsky to the Pentagon. Officially, it was because of her inappropriate behavior and poor work performance. Unofficially, it was because she was spending too much time near the president. But their affair didn't stop. For months, they kept talking on the phone. No more physical meetings, but the emotional grip didn't loosen. They even had phone sex. Monica still hoped Clinton might leave his wife for her. In May 1997, he ended it. But the way he did it crushed her. According to the Star report, he told her he had hundreds of affairs earlier in his marriage, but had tried to be faithful since turning 40. That's when she realized she had been just one more in a long line. At the Pentagon, Monica met Linda Tripp. Monica was 23. Tripp was over 20 years older. She had worked at the White House, too, and knew the world Monica had just been pulled out of. At first, she acted like a mother figure. Monica, fragile and heartbroken, clung to her. She opened up, poured her heart out, and trusted Linda with the one secret she couldn't share with anyone else: the affair. But Linda wasn't who she seemed. Behind Monica's back, Tripp began secretly recording their phone calls. She taped more than 20 hours of conversations over several months. Monica never suspected a thing. She spoke openly, even emotionally. She told Linda everything: how Clinton treated her, how confused she was, how badly she wanted to believe he cared. The calls revealed the chaos in her mind, including moments where she said, "I can't take it anymore. It's too much for one person." Tripp didn't stop there. She worked with investigators for over 100 hours, going through tapes, notes, and details with Kenneth Starr's legal team. She was building a case not just against Clinton, but using Monica's own words as the evidence. Then came January 1998. Monica signed an affidavit, denying any sexual relationship with Clinton. It was a lie meant to protect him in the Paula Jones case. That case had been going on since 1994 and was now reaching its boiling point. Monica wasn't just covering up a scandal. She was committing perjury, and she wasn't doing it alone. She begged Linda to lie too. She called her over and over, asking her to protect the president. Tripp didn't agree. She went to the FBI and she gave them everything. By January 1998, she handed over all the tapes to independent counsel Kenneth Starr. Then, just to be sure, she wore a wire during one last lunch with Monica at a mall in Virginia. That final conversation sealed it. Tripp told ABC News later, "I wanted this relationship exposed in the biggest way." She claimed she was doing it for the public, that it was Clinton who had been cruel. But the fallout hit Monica the hardest. The tapes launched Clinton's impeachment. They led to a $90,000 fine and a 5-year suspension of his law license. They dragged Monica's private life into every newspaper, talk show, and late-night joke in America. On January 26, 1998, President Bill Clinton stood at a White House podium next to his wife, Hillary. With the cameras rolling and the world watching, he looked straight ahead and said clearly, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky." He repeated it again, slowly. "These allegations are false," he added, before ending with, "I need to go back to work for the American people." It sounded confident. It sounded final, but it wasn't the truth. He never said her first name. He just called her that woman. At 24, Monica Lewinsky had been reduced to a political threat, not a person. Clinton's team had carefully shaped every word. The phrase sexual relations was defined in such a narrow way, it didn't include oral sex. So technically, he wasn't lying, at least not by legal standards. But to millions of Americans, and especially to Monica, it was a brutal betrayal. And it was just the beginning. The scandal exploded 9 days earlier on January 17, 1998, when the Drudge Report leaked the story. Almost overnight, Monica became one of the most talked about women in America. But not in a good way. Cameras lined the streets outside her building. Journalists followed her everywhere. She was trapped inside her mother's apartment, only allowed out for doctor's visits and short supervised walks. Her clothing was dissected. Her movements were tracked. Her name was mocked nightly by comedians. She later said, "I was arguably the most humiliated person in the world." It wasn't an exaggeration. This all happened in the early days of the internet. Social media didn't exist yet, but the online world was already cruel. Lewinsky became the first public figure to experience digital shaming on a global scale. And behind the scenes, it was even worse. The White House had a plan. Make Monica look crazy. Officials close to Clinton painted her as obsessed, unstable, delusional. Hillary Clinton reportedly called her a narcissistic Looney Tune. Allies in the press picked up the script. Soon Monica was being described as a stalker, a liar, a homewrecker. They said she made it all up. Years later, she called it what it was, gaslighting. The goal wasn't just to protect Clinton's presidency. It was to crush her credibility. And for a while it worked. The public didn't know what to believe. Privately, the toll on Monica was devastating. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat. And the thought that haunted her most was simple and terrifying. I want to die. Though she never made an attempt, the fear was real. Her mother, Marcia Lewis, didn't leave her side. She stayed by her bed at night. She kept the bathroom door open when Monica showered. She was terrified that humiliation might kill her daughter. And, in many ways, it almost did. For 6 long months, Monica Lewinsky was trapped. She had lied under oath and was scared the law would come crashing down on her. But everything changed on July 28, 1998. That was the day she finally agreed to testify in front of a grand jury. In return, she got a rare deal, complete immunity. Monica was just 25, a former White House intern. Her lawyers had begged for a deal for months. Finally, in a private meeting in New York, she showed Kenneth Starr's prosecutors that she was ready to talk. She didn't hold anything back, and they gave her what's called transactional immunity. That meant they couldn't charge her with anything related to the 6-month investigation. No perjury, no obstruction of justice, nothing. It mattered because Monica had signed a sworn statement back in January saying she never had a sexual relationship with the president. That was a lie. She also helped Linda Tripp come up with talking points to deny knowing about another woman's claims. That could have been obstruction. But thanks to the deal, Monica was safe as long as she told the truth. If she lied again, even slightly, the deal would vanish. Then came the president's turn. On August 17, 1998, Bill Clinton testified under oath. What he said would go down in history. When asked about telling aides, "There's nothing going on between us," he paused. And then he gave a strange answer. It depends on what the meaning of the word is. He wasn't joking. He said that if it meant right now, then his denial was technically true. But if it meant ever, well, that was different. Reporters were stunned. Comedians had a field day. But behind the laughs, Clinton was trying something serious. Using tricky wording to dodge the truth. He claimed he wasn't lying, just choosing words carefully. Even when he told PBS there is no improper relationship, he knew it wasn't a lie if he focused only on the present moment. Some called him clever. Others called him shameless. Many just called him Existential Willie. But Congress wasn't laughing. On December 19, 1998, the House of Representatives voted to impeach President Clinton. 2 charges: first, perjury. Second, obstruction of justice. Both linked directly to the Lewinsky case. The Starr report had laid it out. Clinton had lied about his relationship, lied in the Paula Jones case, let his lawyer give false info to a judge, and tried to influence witnesses. That was the heart of Article 1 and Article 2. The charges said Clinton had undermined the integrity of his office and betrayed his trust. But when the case reached the Senate, it didn't go far. The vote for perjury got 45. The vote for obstruction got 50. Neither reached the 67 needed to remove him from office. Clinton stayed president, but his name would forever carry the mark of impeachment. Then the spotlight turned to Monica. On March 3, 1999, she sat down with Barbara Walters. It wasn't just any interview. It became the most watched news show in TV history. 70 million people tuned in. That night, nearly half of all American TVs were showing Monica Lewinsky. ABC cashed in. Commercial prices shot up by more than 4 times. But people weren't just watching for ads. They wanted answers. Walters didn't hold back. She asked Monica, "Where was your self-respect?" She even asked, "You showed the president your thong underwear. Where did you get the nerve?" Monica didn't flinch. She apologized to Hillary and Chelsea. said she didn't expect forgiveness, but hoped they knew she was sorry. Monica made about $1 million just from the international rights to that interview. But she wasn't done telling her story. That same month, she released a book. She worked with Andrew Morton, the same man who wrote Princess Diana's biography. Their book was called Monica's Story, and it quickly hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Monica earned around $500,000 from the deal. The book went deeper than the Star report. It revealed private details, like how Monica once got pregnant during a break in her relationship with Clinton, had an abortion, and ended up in therapy. She also attacked Starr's tactics. Morton wrote that Starr didn't just investigate, he defiled and molested her emotionally. Monica agreed. She also supported Hillary Clinton's claim of a vast right-wing conspiracy. Monica Lewinsky didn't just survive one of the most public scandals in American history. She fought to take her life back piece by piece in ways no one saw coming. In early 2000, a $1 million deal with Jenny Craig seemed like her big break. All she had to do was lose 40 pounds in 6 months. The company said she represented the modern woman, busy, stressed, and struggling with her weight. They kicked off a massive $7.2 million ad campaign. But the backlash came fast. Some Jenny Craig franchises refused to air the ads. By February, they pulled the entire campaign. By April, it was over. Monica got just $300,000. That was 70% less than promised. Once again, her name had opened a door and slammed it shut just as quickly. But Monica didn't stop. Later that same year, in September 1999, she launched her own business, a handbag line called The Real Monica Incorporated. It wasn't some lazy celebrity cash grab. She actually designed the bags herself. She traveled to Louisiana to oversee production. Her reversible boho-style totes landed in top stores. Henri Bendel in New York, Fred Segal in California, and even the Cross in London. Fashion reporters started focusing on her designs, not her past. One publicist even said she was finally being seen as a real designer. For a moment, it seemed like she had broken through, but the business faded. The shadow of her scandal was hard to shake. Then came one of her boldest moves yet, reality television. In 2003, she hosted Mr. Personality, a dating show on Fox, with a bizarre twist. The men wore full-face masks the entire time. Fox gambled that Monica would draw in viewers, and it worked. At first, the show premiered with strong ratings. Critics said she had finally found her lane, but the backlash returned. Viewers protested her cashing in on her past. Ratings dropped fast. The finale was cut down from 2 hours to 1. The show lasted just 5 episodes. Still, Monica had shown she could hold her own on screen. Between 2000 and 2003, she appeared on TV around the world. She showed up on The Tom Green Show, where she and the host searched for fabric in his parents' home. On a UK show called Monica's Postcards, she reported on American culture. She popped up in Sweden on High Chaparral and chatted with Graham Norton in the UK. She went on The View and Jimmy Kimmel Live in the US. These appearances were her way of proving she was more than a scandal. But the flood of interviews also made it clear she was still trapped in the same old story. Then something changed. In June 2014, Monica broke her silence in a 6,000-word essay in Vanity Fair titled Shame and Survival. It had been 16 years since the scandal. She had turned down over $10 million in offers during that time. None of them felt right. What pushed her to speak up was the suicide of 18-year-old Tyler Clementi, a student who was publicly humiliated online. Monica's mother broke down in tears. She remembered the nights in 1998 when Monica was suicidal. In the essay, Monica talked about a job interview where she was told she'd need a letter from the Clintons to be hired because Hillary might run for president. This time, the world listened differently. She wasn't a joke anymore. She was a survivor with something real to say. In March 2015, she gave a TED Talk titled The Price of Shame. In just 20 minutes, she went viral. Over 20 million views. She called herself patient zero of public humiliation in the internet age. The reaction was brutal at first. Online trolls filled her Facebook page with hate. One even blamed her for both 9/11 and Al Gore's election loss. But support followed. People finally began to understand the damage public shaming could do. Her talk reached as many people as Madison Square Garden could hold 1,000 times over. By 2021, Monica had become a serious name in Hollywood. Her production company, Alt Ending, signed a first-look deal with 20th Television, the studio behind The Simpsons and This Is Us. She served as a producer on Impeachment, American Crime Story, which aired in September 2021. The show told the very story that nearly ruined her. But this time, she had creative control. The president of 20th of Television praised her passion and storytelling skills. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building something. She even co-produced the HBO Max documentary, 15 Minutes of Shame. It wasn't just a title. It was her life turned into a lesson for the world. Despite wild online rumors, Monica's net worth isn't $50 million. As of 2025, it's around $1.5 million, and she earned every bit of it. Her memoir brought in $500,000. Her interview with Barbara Walters made her $1 million. But most of her income now comes from speaking gigs, advocacy work, and her production deals. She turned down offers worth more than $10 million because they didn't align with her values. That choice slowed her financial recovery, but gave her something more powerful, credibility. And now she's helping others reclaim their stories. In February 2025, she launched a podcast called Reclaiming. In the first episode, she opened up like never before. She admitted that back in D.C., she thought she mattered to President Clinton. She thought there was a future. She now knows better. On the show, she talks with guests like Olivia Munn and Alan about how to bounce back after public humiliation. The podcast isn't just content. It's a lifeline for people whose stories were hijacked. On The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, she said her dream guest was Taylor Swift, someone who understands what it's like to be dragged through the mud in public. Monica summed it all up in one sentence. I eventually realized that I couldn't run away from what happened to me. I had to integrate it. That's what makes her story more than a comeback. It's a full rewrite, not of what happened, but of what she did with it. Almost overnight, Monica became one of the most talked about women in America. But not in a good way. Cameras lined the streets outside her building. Journalists followed her everywhere. She was trapped inside her mother's apartment, only allowed out for doctor's visits and short supervised walks. Her clothing was dissected. Her movements were tracked. Her name was mocked nightly by comedians. She later said, "I was arguably the most humiliated person in the world." It wasn't an exaggeration. This all happened in the early days of the internet. Social media didn't exist yet, but the online world was already cruel. Lewinsky became the first public figure to experience digital shaming on a global scale. And behind the scenes, it was even worse. The White House had a plan. Make Monica look crazy. Officials close to Clinton painted her as obsessed, unstable, delusional. Hillary Clinton reportedly called her a narcissistic Looney Tune. Allies in the press picked up the script. Soon Monica was being described as a stalker, a liar, a homewrecker. They said she made it all up. Years later, she called it what it was, gaslighting. The goal wasn't just to protect Clinton's presidency. It was to crush her credibility. And for a while, it worked. The public didn't know what to believe. Privately, the toll on Monica was devastating. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat. And the thought that haunted her most was simple and terrifying. I want to die. Though she never made an attempt, the fear was real. Her mother, Marcia Lewis, didn't leave her side. She stayed by her bed at night. She kept the bathroom door open when Monica showered. She was terrified that humiliation might kill her daughter. And in many ways, it almost did. For 6 long months, Monica Lewinsky was trapped. She had lied under oath and was scared the law would come crashing down on her. But everything changed on July 28, 1998. That was the day she finally